At first, booking a European river cruise seems straightforward. Pick a river, pick a line, and go. But after weeks of research, comparing real fares, reading guest reviews, mapping out what's actually included, we realised how easy it is to get this wrong before you ever set foot on the ship. In this video, we're going through the 7 mistakes first-time river cruisers regret most, and exactly how to avoid them. We'll also show you a free tool we built that estimates your real total cost across 16 different cruise lines, because the advertised fare rarely tells the full story. Welcome to Rob and Nawa Travels. Let's start with the mistake that sets everything else in motion. Most first-timers fall in love with a cruise line first. Maybe they've heard Viking is the best, or a friend raved about Avalon, and then they try to make that line fit whatever dates and rivers are available. We see this all the time in cruise forums and comments on our own videos. The problem is, the best cruise line cannot rescue an itinerary that does not take you where you actually want to go. The river comes first, always, because the Rhine, the Danube and the Douro are completely different experiences. The Rhine is castles and vineyards, a medieval fairy tale passing outside your window. The Danube connects grand imperial cities, Vienna, Budapest, Bratislava. The Douro is quieter and more rural. Terraced vineyards climbing impossibly steep slopes, sleepy villages where the main event is the scenery itself. And those are just the 3 most popular. The Bordeaux region in France is wine country. The Moselle is smaller towns and a gentler pace. Even on the same river, different itineraries can deliver very different experiences. A Rhine cruise that focuses on the Upper Rhine through Germany stops at different towns than one that includes the Dutch waterways at the start. Some itineraries market themselves as visiting a famous city, but actually dock an hour away and bus you in. Some overnight in port, so you get an evening there, while others depart by mid-afternoon. So before you ever compare ships or fares, do this. Write down the 3 or 4 places you most want to visit, not cruise lines, places. Then check the itinerary carefully. Does the ship actually dock there, or do you arrive by coach? Is the visit during the day, or does a ship arrive at 6 in the evening? Is the excursion included, or will that add to your cost? The river determines the experience. The cruise line determines the style of that experience. Get them in the wrong order, and you could end up on a beautifully appointed ship sailing past scenery you didn't actually come to see, which is exactly what the brochures are designed to make you overlook. Choosing a river cruise cabin is about much more than deciding between a fixed window, French balcony or full balcony. Where the cabin is located can have just as much influence on your experience as the cabin category itself. Start with the deck plan. If you have mobility concerns, a cabin close to the lifts can make daily life much easier, especially when the restaurant or lounge is at the opposite end of the ship. Then look at what is above, below and beside you. A cabin under the restaurant, near the galley, beside a stairway or close to frequently used doors may be noisier than expected. Cabins towards the rear can also experience more engine vibration and operational noise, particularly when the ship is maneuvering or passing through lock. And do not assume that paying more for a balcony guarantees a better view. River ships often berth side by side, so you may open the curtains and find another ship only a few meters away. A lower deck cabin can save a considerable amount of money, but usually means smaller windows, less natural light, and potentially more noise. The best cabin is not necessarily the largest or most expensive. It is the one that suits your mobility, sleeping habits, and budget. Here's the mistake that can quietly add over $1,000 to your trip without you ever noticing. Comparing headline fares instead of total cost. River cruise lines advertise a cabin price, and first-timers compare these numbers directly. But the fare you see rarely includes everything you'll actually spend, and what's included varies enormously from line to line. Before you compare any 2 fares, you need to build the complete costs for both. That means gratuities. Some lines include them, most don't, and on a week-long cruise, they can add up to over $150 per person. Drinks. Is it just beer and wine at meals, or all drinks anytime. Excursions. The included walking tours are fine, but the bike rides, wine tastings and cooking classes usually cost extra. Transfers. Are you paying for your own airport transfer, or is it included? And if you're adding a pre- or post-cruise hotel stay and a land extension, those need to go into the calculation too. This is exactly why we built our free European River Cruise Cost Estimator. It covers 16 different cruise lines and does this math for you. You pick the lines you're comparing, select your cabin category, add the extras you'd actually use, and it estimates your total trip cost and your cost per person per night. We'll show you where to find it at the end. But the principle is simple. Never compare fares, compare total. A ship travelling downstream is assisted by the current, so everything else being equal, it can cover the same distance more quickly than a ship travelling upstream. That may sound as though the downstream itinerary must provide more time in port. Sometimes it might, but the time saved is not automatically passed directly to passengers as extra sightseeing time. Cruise lines create separate operating schedules for each direction. A downstream ship may leave a port later, cruise more slowly through a scenic section, sail for fewer hours overnight, or use the additional time to accommodate locks, traffic and docking arrangement. The mistake is choosing a direction without comparing the actual day-by-day schedule. You need to look at both itineraries side by side, not just the ports, but the times. What time does a ship arrive? If it docks at 6 in the evening, that's basically a missed port, unless you're only there for dinner. What time does it depart? A mid-afternoon departure cuts your exploration time in half compared to a late evening departure. The downstream ship may travel faster, but the published itinerary determines whether that becomes additional time ashore. Locks are a normal and essential part of European river cruising. They allow a ship to move between sections of river where the water levels are different. What many first-time passengers do not realise is just how many locks may be involved on a popular itinerary. For context, a typical 7-night Rhine cruise between Amsterdam and Basel will pass through around 14 locks, depending on the route used through the Netherlands. On the popular Danube itinerary between Budapest and Passau, the ship will normally pass through about 11 lock complexes. You will probably pass through some of these during the day. When watching the ship enter the lock chamber, the gates close and the water level rise or fall can be genuinely fascinating. But several passages may happen overnight. As the ship approaches a lock, it may slow down, use its bow thrusters and carefully manoeuvre into a chamber that is only slightly wider than the vessel. You may hear changes in engine noise, feel some vibration or occasionally hear a gentle bump as the ship is positioned. That does not mean every passenger will be disturbed. Some people sleep through the entire process. However, light sleepers, particularly those considering a lower deck cabin or one closer to the rear of the ship, should understand that operational noise may occasionally be noticeable. Locks are not a reason to avoid a river cruise. They are part of what makes travelling through Europe's inland waterways possible. But when an itinerary may involve 11 or 14 lock passages in a single week, it is useful to know that some of them could occur while you are trying to sleep. One of the great promises of river cruising is that you sail into the heart of the city, step off the ship and start exploring. Sometimes that is exactly what happens. In Cologne, we have walked from the ship to the cathedral in under 10 minutes. It is one of the best experiences in river cruising. But the itinerary can guarantee the destination, not the berth. A cruise may advertise a full day in Vienna, yet your ship could dock outside the centre because the closer berths are already occupied. Instead of walking ashore, you may need a coach transfer. By the time you travel into the city, complete the included tour and return to the ship, much of your independent time may have disappeared. Do not compare itineraries simply by counting port names. Two cruises can visit the same destinations but provide very different experiences. What matters is not how many places appear in the brochure, it is how much usable time you actually have in each one. Included excursions can be valuable, but they should not automatically decide how you spend your time in port. Before the cruise, research every destination carefully. Find out what makes that city important and identify anything you would genuinely regret missing. Put those places at the top of your list first, and only then decide whether the included excursion fits around them. That is the important lesson. Do not choose an excursion simply because it is included in the fare. Research the destination first, decide what is most meaningful to you, and then see whether the organised tour supports that plan. Sometimes the included excursion will be exactly the right choice, but sometimes following it means missing the one place you most wanted to see. On a river cruise, time in each destination is limited. Spend it on the places and experiences that matter most to you, not simply on an excursion because it happens to be included. To help with the cost comparison, our free European River Cruise Cost Estimator is linked in the description below. It covers 16 different cruise lines and gives you a starting point for estimating the cruise fare, cabin upgrades, likely extras and total cost. But before you start comparing prices, you first need to understand which river and which cruise line are most suitable for you. So watch our video, European River Cruises Explain, which one is actually worth it, next. In that video, we explain the main European rivers and compare 10 of the most popular river cruise lines, including Viking, Amma Waterways, Avalon, Uniworld and Scenic. It will help you narrow down your choices before you begin searching for a specific cruise. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to Rob and Nawa Travels to keep up to date with our latest videos and research. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next.